In the rolling hills of Oakvale County, where the land stretched golden under the summer sun, lived Elijah Mercer, a weathered farmer with calloused hands and a spirit as resilient as the ancient oak tree that stood sentinel over his modest homestead. For 30 years, Elijah had worked the same 15 acres, coaxing life from soil that grew less forgiving with each passing season. His only true companion through these years of struggle was Thunderbolt, a powerful chestnut stallion with a white blaze down his face, a horse of remarkable intelligence who seemed to understand Elijah's every word and gesture. The surrounding farms had gradually disappeared, swallowed by VistaCorp Developments, a corporate entity fronted by Harlan Whitley, a man whose immaculate suits and gleaming luxury vehicles formed a stark contrast to the fading barns and rusted tractors of the local farmers. Whitley had built his empire by acquiring struggling farms, bulldozing generations of history, and erecting sterile estates that mocked the simple dignity of rural life. "Just a matter of time, Thunderbolt," Elijah murmured as he brushed the stallion's mane one evening. "That vulture Whitley's been circling closer each month." True to Elijah's fears, Whitley arrived the following day in his silver Bentley, dust from the country road settling on its polished surface. The millionaire's smile didn't reach his cold eyes as he approached Elijah, who stood with Thunderbolt at the edge of his cornfield. "Mr. Mercer, I've come with another offer. Twice what I proposed last month," Whitley announced, extending a crisp envelope. "You're becoming quite the thorn in my side, the last holdout in my Oakvale Estates project." Elijah didn't reach for the envelope. "This land isn't for sale, Mr. Whitley. Same answer as before." Whitley's facade cracked, revealing the predator beneath. "Your stubbornness is costing me millions. Perhaps I haven't made myself clear enough." He gestured toward the horizon where construction equipment loomed. "Progress is inevitable. You're standing in its way." As Whitley stepped closer, Thunderbolt pawed the ground nervously. The millionaire's hand shot out, gripping Elijah's shirt. "Listen, you backward old fool. By this time next month, you'll be gone, one way or another." The stallion's ears flattened against his head, sensing the hostility. Elijah remained calm, gently disengaging Whitley's grip. "I think you should leave now." "This isn't over," Whitley hissed, turning toward his car. As he passed Thunderbolt, he casually flicked his cigar, the burning ember landing on the horse's flank. The stallion reared in pain and surprise. Elijah rushed to comfort his friend as Whitley drove away, laughing, through his open window. Looking into Thunderbolt's intelligent eyes, Elijah saw something that gave him pause. A calculated understanding, almost human in its complexity. Neither Elijah nor Whitley realized that this seemingly minor act of cruelty had set in motion events that would transform their quiet corner of Oakvale County forever. The following weeks brought strange occurrences to Harlan Whitley's lavish estate on the hill. Security cameras inexplicably failed. Gates mysteriously opened in the night. Expensive landscaping appeared trampled by large hooves. Each morning, Whitley's groundskeeper would discover new disturbances, always accompanied by a single chestnut horsehair left precisely at the scene. Whitley dismissed these events as juvenile pranks by locals sympathetic to Elijah, but privately, an unfamiliar sensation crept into his consciousness, a vague disquiet that troubled his sleep. His security team found nothing conclusive, yet the incidents escalated. One night, all 27 of his prized rose bushes were systematically destroyed, the careful pattern of destruction suggesting deliberate intent rather than random vandalism. Meanwhile, Elijah noticed changes in Thunderbolt's behavior. The horse disappeared for hours in the night, returning before dawn with a strange sense of satisfaction. Elijah would find him in his stall, alert and watching, as if guarding a secret. "What are you up to, old friend?" Elijah would ask, but Thunderbolt merely nickered softly in response. The situation intensified when Whitley's water supply was contaminated, traced to a mysterious breach in his sophisticated filtration system. The following day, a power outage affected only his property, despite the utility company finding no explanation for the selective blackout. Whitley's temper grew shorter. During a contentious town council meeting where he sought approval for expanding his development, he publicly accused Elijah of sabotage. "That backward farmer and his decrepit horse are behind this," he shouted, his composed facade crumbling. "I demand action, or I'll take matters into my own hands." The sheriff, Lucinda Ortega, whose family had farmed in Oakvale for generations before becoming law enforcement, regarded Whitley coolly. "Do you have evidence of these accusations, mister?" "Whitley? Evidence? Look at the timing. Look at the horsehairs." "Horsehairs on rural property aren't exactly smoking guns," Sheriff Ortega replied. "Without concrete evidence, I'd advise against making public accusations." Humiliated and enraged, Whitley stormed from the meeting. That night, he summoned his private security team. "I want surveillance on Mercer and that horse around the clock, and I want you to deliver a message, physically, if necessary." The following evening, Elijah returned from town to find his mailbox destroyed and crude threats painted across his barn. More disturbing, Thunderbolt's stall door had been damaged, though the horse himself was unharmed. Elijah reported the vandalism to Sheriff Ortega, who promised to investigate but warned that proving Whitley's involvement would be difficult. That night, as rain pounded the countryside, Thunderbolt stood alert in his stall, his eyes fixed on the distant lights of Whitley's mansion. The stallion's patience had worn thin. What began as simple disruption was about to evolve into something far more direct. In the flash of lightning, Thunderbolt's eyes reflected an intelligence that transcended animal instinct. This was calculation, planning, and righteous anger. The game between horse and millionaire was entering a new phase, and only one would emerge victorious. The late summer heat lay heavy over Oakvale as Harlan Whitley hosted an exclusive gathering at his estate. Wealthy investors and corrupt local officials mingled by the Olympic-sized pool, sipping champagne while viewing elaborate models of Whitley Heights, the luxury development that would replace what remained of the farming community. Construction begins next month, Whitley announced triumphantly. The final obstacle has been addressed. His guests nodded knowingly. None questioned what addressed might entail. Unknown to the partygoers, Thunderbolt had been watching from the surrounding woods, learning the patterns of the security guards, understanding the rhythms of the estate. The horse had discovered weaknesses in Whitley's defenses, places where the security cameras didn't quite overlap, timing patterns in the guard rotations, and the location of the estate's control systems. As twilight descended, Whitley led his guests toward the stables to show off his collection of championship thoroughbreds, horses purchased for prestige rather than any genuine affection for the animals. The stable doors stood open, the interior lit with tastefully positioned spotlights highlighting each expensive stall. "These beauties cost more than most people's homes," Whitley boasted, gesturing toward his uninterested horses. "Pure bloodlines, unlike those mongrel farm nags." Just as he reached to stroke his prized black stallion's neck, a loud crash echoed from the main house. The security team rushed toward the sound, leaving Whitley and his guests momentarily unguarded. In that instant of distraction, a powerful shape emerged from the shadows at the far end of the stable. Thunderbolt stood tall, his chestnut coat gleaming in the stable lights, his eyes fixed on Whitley with unmistakable purpose. The millionaire froze, champagne glass slipping from his fingers. "Is that Mercer's horse?" someone whispered. Before anyone could move, Thunderbolt charged forward. Whitley's guests scattered in panic, leaving the millionaire alone facing the advancing horse. With remarkable precision, Thunderbolt cornered Whitley against the stable wall, powerful hooves planted firmly, blocking any escape route. "Someone get security!" Whitley screamed, his voice cracking with fear. For a long, tense moment, horse and man stood face to face. Thunderbolt's breath hot against Whitley's skin. The horse made no move to harm him, yet the threat was unmistakable. In those intelligent eyes, Whitley recognized something that shook him to his core: judgment. When security finally arrived, Thunderbolt had already vanished into the night, leaving behind a terrified millionaire and baffled guests. The incident became the talk of Oakvale County, how a simple farm horse had infiltrated the most secure estate in the region, singled out its owner, and departed without a trace. Sheriff Ortega interviewed Whitley the following day. "You're claiming Elijah, Mercer somehow trained his horse to break into your property and threaten you? She asked skeptically. That wasn't a normal horse, Whitley stammered, still shaken. It looked at me like it knew exactly what it was doing. The sheriff's report noted that Whitley appeared unusually disturbed by an animal encounter and recommended psychological evaluation. Meanwhile, Thunderbolt returned to Elijah's farm, where he resumed his normal behavior as if nothing unusual had occurred. But the night's events had only been a warning. Thunderbolt's true reckoning with Harlan Whitley was yet to come. As autumn painted Oakvale's landscape in gold and crimson, Harlan Whitley's world began to unravel. Anonymous tips led state investigators to discover irregularities in VistaCorp's permits and environmental impact statements. Financial journalists suddenly took interest in the company's questionable accounting practices. Whitley's investors grew nervous, withdrawing support as rumors of impending legal troubles spread. Most troubling to Whitley was the constant sensation of being watched. He installed additional security systems, hired more guards, even resorted to sleeping with a loaded pistol beside his bed. His personal physician prescribed medication for his increasing paranoia, but nothing eased the certainty that somewhere, always, Thunderbolt was observing and planning. One rain-soaked evening, Whitley's security team detected a breach in the odd perimeter fence. Camera footage showed a familiar chestnut shape moving purposefully through the property. When guards rushed to intercept, they found only empty pathways and disturbed earth. The horse seemed to anticipate their movements, staying one step ahead throughout the night. By morning, exhausted guards reported multiple sightings but no capture. Whitley, haggard from another sleepless night, stormed through his mansion, raging at his employees' incompetence. As he entered his private office, he stopped cold. Muddy hoofprints led directly to his desk, where his most confidential files lay open. Papers containing evidence of his illegal business practices were arranged in a deliberate pattern, creating a trail of incrimination. "This is impossible," he whispered, backing away. "A horse can't—" The sound of breaking glass interrupted his thought. Racing to his bedroom, he found the window shattered and his safe exposed, the safe containing documents that could send him to prison for decades. The door hung open, the contents disturbed but still present. This wasn't theft, this was a message. Driven beyond reason, Whitley grabbed his rifle and drove recklessly to Elijah's farm. The old farmer was repairing fence posts when the Bentley skidded into his yard. "Call off your devil horse, Mercer," Whitley screamed, waving the rifle. Elijah set down his tools calmly. "Put the gun away, Whitley. You're not thinking straight." "That creature of yours is destroying me. It's in my house, touching my things. It's impossible." "Thunderbolt's just a horse," Elijah replied evenly, though his eyes betrayed uncertainty. "Maybe your conscience is creating these fantasies." "Fantasies?" Whitley laughed bitterly. "I'll show you fantasy." He raised the rifle toward the nearby stable. Before he could aim properly, the ground trembled with approaching hoofbeats. Thunderbolt emerged from behind the barn, charging straight toward Whitley with supernatural speed. The millionaire fired wildly, missing completely as Thunderbolt dodged with uncanny precision. In seconds, Whitley found himself on the ground, the rifle knocked aside, pinned beneath Thunderbolt's weight. The horse's front hooves pressed against the earth on either side of his head, the powerful body looming over him. Whitley's eyes widened in absolute terror as he looked into the horse's gaze. "Please," he whimpered, all pretense of strength abandoned. "Please don't hurt me." Thunderbolt lowered his head until his eyes were inches from Whitley's face. In that moment, something passed between them. An understanding. A reckoning. "Call him off, Mercer," Whitley pleaded. "I'll do anything." Elijah approached slowly, placing a gentle hand on Thunderbolt's neck. "It's not up to me," he said softly. "I think this is between you and him now." The autumn leaves were falling when Oakvale County witnessed the shocking transformation of Harlan Whitley. The millionaire who had arrived determined to destroy their community departed a broken man, his empire crumbling around him. VistaCorp Development filed for bankruptcy as investigations revealed years of fraud and environmental violations. The Land they had purchased was placed in agricultural conservation, protected from future development. Most surprising to the community was Whitley's public confession. Standing before news cameras, he admitted to his crimes, detailed his illegal tactics, and announced he would plead guilty to all charges. When asked why he had chosen to confess, Whitley's eyes darted nervously to the side, as if checking for something or someone watching from the shadows. "I've been shown another path," he said simply. The terms of Whitley's plea agreement included substantial restitution to the farmers he had harassed and defrauded. Elijah Mercer, as the most vocal opponent of Vista Corp., received the deed to his 15 acres plus surrounding parcels that had once belonged to his neighbors. The paperwork included an unusual stipulation that a specific portion of land, a beautiful meadow bordering a stream, be designated as Thunderbolt's pasture in perpetuity. On a crisp November morning, Sheriff Ortega visited Elijah's farm. She found the old farmer and his horse by the newly constructed fence around the expanded property. "You know, Elijah," she said, leaning against her patrol car, "I've been trying to piece together what really happened with Whitley. His confession mentioned being visited by justice in an unexpected form. Would you know anything about that?" Elijah smiled, watching Thunderbolt graze peacefully. "Sometimes justice finds its own messengers, Lucinda." She nodded thoughtfully. "People say you trained that horse to terrorize Whitley. Others claim something more unusual was happening." "Thunderbolt's always been special," Elijah replied. "Smarter than most people I know. As for what happened with Whitley, I believe some things are best left unexamined too closely." The sheriff studied the horse, who raised his head to return her gaze with unsettling intelligence. "Well, whatever happened, the county's better for it. Whitley's land is being redistributed to local farmers. The development project is dead." "And Whitley himself?" "Community service for the next 10 years. He specifically requested assignments working with rescue horses." She shook her head in amazement, said he wanted to make amends to the species. After she departed, Elijah approached Thunderbolt, who nuzzled his shoulder affectionately. "You did good, old friend," he whispered, "though I still don't understand how you managed it all." Thunderbolt nickered softly, eyes gleaming with secrets never to be revealed. That evening, as sunset painted the sky in brilliant orange and purple, Elijah watched from his porch as Thunderbolt galloped freely across the expanded farmland. The horse paused atop a distant hill, silhouetted majestically against the fading light, head held high with unmistakable pride. In the following years, Oakvale County thrived as a renewed agricultural community. Family farms flourished where luxury estates had been planned, and occasionally visitors would report seeing a magnificent chestnut stallion standing sentinel on hillsides, watching over the valley with protective vigilance. Elijah never confirmed, nor denied the stories that eventually became local legend, how a simple farm horse had brought a corrupt millionaire to his knees and saved a community. But on quiet evenings, visitors to his farm might glimpse something remarkable. An old farmer and his extraordinary horse, communicating in a language all their own, guardians of a justice that had found its own unique path. As for Harlan Whitley, he eventually opened a horse sanctuary on the small property he was permitted to keep. Visitors often noted that he approached even the most temperamental rescue horses without fear, yet always maintained a respectful distance from those with chestnut coats and intelligent eyes.